Hello and thanks for joining us from our studios in Israel. I'm Aaron Porras, here with ILTV's Morning Briefing.
This was the fifth consecutive weekend of clashes between Palestinians and IDF security forces along the Gaza border. At this time, 4 Palestinians are believed to have been killed in these latest demonstrations, including a 15-year-old. These numbers place the overall death toll at 45 fatalities since the Hamas-sponsored March of Return protest began. Though the terror group claims this is merely a non-violent protest, Israeli forces have reported countless instances of Palestinians attempting to destroy the security barrier or use rocks, weapons, and firebombs to overrun the border. The IDF maintains that it uses force, sometimes lethal force, only in instances where security is threatened. These protests sometimes draw tens of thousands of Palestinians to the border, where tire fires and mobs look anything but non-violent. At the same time, however, Israel has been fiercely criticized for its use of live fire, and is often accused of using lethal force inappropriately. This is actually the second teenaged Palestinian killed by IDF bullets, in addition to 2 Palestinian journalists. To make matters worse, these clashes are building up to the May 15th anniversary of Israel's Independence Day, and the opening of the American embassy in Jerusalem. Troops are already bracing ahead of time as the worst of the bloodshed may still be yet to come. Israelis across the nation are still in shock following the deaths of 10 teenagers in a flash flood a few days ago. The group belonged to a pre-army training academy and had left school for a desert trek near the Dead Sea when disaster struck. Making this tragedy all the more painful is the fact that most of the country had shut down due to the intensity of the off-season rains, and yet for some reason this field trip was still allowed to press on. 7 of the 10 teens have just been laid to rest in what was clearly a very painful ceremony. The remaining 3 are to be buried later today. The victims, 9 girls and 1 boy, were swept away by floodwaters on Thursday following 2 similar deaths in Israel and the Palestinian territories a day earlier. Though Israeli leaders, including Prime Minister Netanyahu, have lamented the tragedy of so many youths' lives cut short, others are demanding answers for how this avoidable tragedy was made possible. At this time, the school's instructor and principal have both been arrested on suspicion of negligent homicide. One of the guides on the trip is currently in house arrest as well, but has told investigators that she actually protested against the hike. A text message sent out by the trip's organizers shortly before that fateful day claimed the hike had been greenlit with all the relevant authorities, but officials at the Ministry of Education say they were unaware any such trip was even planned. Amidst this tragedy, testimony from the survivors has revealed a beacon of hope from the horror. When disaster struck, one of the victims, a student named Tzur Alif, who dreamed of serving in the IDF's elite rescue unit, sacrificed his life to help save student after student from the deadly floodwaters. Thousands have gathered for a candlelight vigil in Tel Aviv, and this is a tragedy the country will not soon forget. The United States officially has a new Secretary of State. Former CIA Director Mike Pompeo was sworn into office late last week and almost immediately jumped on a plane to begin his first official Middle East tour. The new head of state has already met with NATO in Brussels and top leaders in Saudi Arabia, and he'll meet today with Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu in Jerusalem. The question on everyone's mind, of course, is what will be the fate of American involvement in the Iranian nuclear deal. President Trump is widely believed to have fired his previous top advisors, including former Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, in favor of people like Pompeo, who favor nixing the deal altogether. While Trump has maintained that the deal is one of the worst he's ever seen, European leaders have almost unanimously been working to save the deal, arguing that it has successfully slowed Iran's ability to develop nuclear weapons. Trump has until May 12th to either re-sign the deal or withdraw the US from it altogether. Pompeo's talk today with Netanyahu will most likely address both of these possible outcomes. Standing by German Chancellor Angela Merkel at a White House press conference, United States President Donald Trump let slip that he may in fact be attending the opening of the new U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem next month. Israeli officials listening to the news reported being completely surprised by the announcement. Until now, reports from the White House have left President Trump off of the guest list for the event. Instead, Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin will be leading a 250-member delegation to Israel for the ribbon cutting, including members of Congress and President Trump's daughter Ivanka and son-in-law Jared Kushner. Despite claiming to be, quote, very proud of the soon-to-open embassy, the decision for Trump not to attend is seen by many as an attempt to reduce tensions with the Palestinians, who, because of the upcoming move, have stopped seeing the U.S. as a partner in Middle East peace. Other actions that have infuriated the Palestinians include cutting hundreds of millions of dollars from Palestinian aid and aid organizations like UNRWA, pending changes to Palestinian policy. Now, with Trump also possibly attending the embassy opening after all, the PA's feelings may just be further solidified. A Lebanese shepherd has now become of great concern to the IDF after she wandered into Israel's Mount Hermon area with her flock Saturday evening. Israeli security forces picked the shepherd up and have been reportedly investigating her entry, trying to see whether she crossed by accident or was gathering intel for Hezbollah or Lebanon. The Lebanese military has supposedly already contacted the United Nations regarding her return, as Israel and Lebanon do not have any formal relations. The Israeli military routinely maintains a strict border with Lebanon and Syria, especially recently as tensions between Israel and Lebanon, Hezbollah, Syria, and Iran have heightened.
That's all for now. I'm Aaron Porras, and see you later with our main daily broadcast from Israel at 2 p.m. Eastern Time.